Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskritam Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Utodayam Udhirayat Nasta Prayeshu Abhadreshu Nityam Bhagavat Sevaya Bhagavati Uttam Shloke Bhaktir Bhagavati Naistiki. So, it's from Canto 10, Chapter 9, Mother Yashoda binds Lord Krishna. And read it. Sri Shukavach Ekada Grihadashishu Jashoda Nandagehini Karmantara Nijuktashu Nirmamanta Swayangdadihi Jhani Juniha Gitani Tadbala Charitani Cha Dadhi Nirmandhane Khale Smaranti Dhan Agayata. Sri Shukadeva Goswami continued, one day when Mother Yashoda saw that all the maidservants were engaged in other household affairs, she personally began to churn the yogurt. While churning, she remembered the childish activities of Krishna, and in her own way she composed songs and enjoyed singing to herself about all these activities. Purport. Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, quoting from the Vaishnav Toshani of Srila Sanatana Goswami, says that the incident of Krishna's breaking the pot of yogurt and being bound by Mother Yashoda took place on the Deepavali day or Deepa Malika. Even today in India, this festival is generally celebrated very gorgeously in the month of Kartik by fireworks and lights, especially in Bombay. It is to be understood that among all the cows of Nanda Maharaj, several of Mother Yashoda's cows ate only grasses so flavourful that the grasses would automatically flavour the milk. Mother Yashoda wanted to collect this milk from these cows, make it into yogurt and churn it into butter personally, since she thought that this child Krishna was going to the houses of neighbourhood gopas and gopis to steal butter because he didn't like the milk and yogurt ordinarily prepared. While churning the butter, Mother Yashoda was singing about the childhood activities of Krishna. It was formerly a custom that if one wanted to remember something constantly, he would transform it into poetry or have this done by a professional poet. It appears that Mother Yashoda did not want to forget Krishna's activities at any time. Therefore, she poeticized all of Krishna's childhood activities, such as the killing of Putana, Aghasura, Shakatasura and Trinabrata. And while churning the butter, she sang about these activities in poetical form. This should be the practice of persons eager to remain Krishna conscious 24 hours a day. This incident shows how Krishna conscious Mother Yashoda was. To stay in Krishna consciousness, we should follow such persons. Text 3, because that was 2 verses together. Kshaumang Bhashapratu Katitate Pimbrati Shuttanadham Putrasneya Shnuta Kucha Jukam Jatakam Bangcha Sumbru Rajakarsha Shama Bhuja Chalat Kankano Kundalecha Svinang Bhaktang Kabaravigalang Malati Nirman Mata. Dressed in a saffron yellow sari with a belt tied about her full hips, Mother Yashoda pulled on the churning rope, labouring considerably, her bangles and earrings moving and vibrating, and her whole body shaking. Because of her intense love for her child, her breasts were wet with milk. Her face, with its very beautiful eyebrows, was wet with perspiration, and malati flowers were falling from her hair. Purport. Anyone who desires to be Krishna conscious in motherly affection or parental affection should contemplate the bodily features of Mother Yashoda. It is not that one should desire to become like Yashoda, for this is Mayavad. To become totally like her, or even to become her. Some people want to think they can become herself, but that's complete Mayavad. That's not allowed. You can follow in the footsteps of Mother Yashoda and the older gopis in parental affection of Krishna. Jai. That's called Vatsalya Bhav. Vatsalya means to protect. So it's a mood of intense affection where in Sakarasa, the friends of Krishna, the Gopas, they feel equal to Krishna. And there's no gap between, Krishna being, the Lord and them being servants like that. They're friends with Krishna in every way, and there are different levels of that. Some friends are slightly younger than Krishna, so their Sakya has a tinge of Dasya in it, service to Krishna. And then some are completely on same age exactly, almost exactly, so they're very sort of completely equal, and some are slightly older, and so their Sakya is mixed with some tinge of Vatsalya, protective mood to Krishna, like older boys. And then another group are very extremely intimate with Krishna, like Sridham, Subal, and they also have some connection with the Madhurya Rasa, where they go with Krishna in his pastimes with the gopis, and they're providing support and joking, sometimes supporting Krishna against Radharani or the gopis, sometimes supporting Radharani against Krishna, like that. So they're they're called Priyanama Shakas, very intimate friends. So when the Sakarasa of that equality becomes intensified even further, it's not just equality with Krishna, it's superiority to Krishna in the sense of really feeling that he is dependent on me, that for his life, for his health, for his everything, and I have to take care of him, otherwise he will suffer or not be right. So sometimes these rasas are, apparently conflicting. Particularly the Vatsalya Bhav and Madhurya Bhav, of course, as you can imagine. For example, Mother Yashoda is very concerned that Krishna will keep his health, so he'll have to go to bed, timely, and she'll bathing him and then, putting him in the bed and everything. And she's coming in, make sure he's settled, and then after maybe 15-20 minutes she'll come in and check on him. And so she wants him to be there in the night. But of course the gopis, their idea is just the opposite. They want him to come out in the night and dance with them. So this is some ras abas between them, And of course, when he knows that Mother's going to come in and check, so Krishna will be pretending to be asleep, then as soon as she goes out again, he will go out through the window and then, do the pastimes. So yes, Prabhu.
I think I heard in some lecture that Guru Maharaj stated that the highest aspiration for Jiva is Dasya Ras. Like any attempt to meditate or visualize or picture any superior forms of rasas would lead to Sahajism. Because by having a material experience, anything what the conditioned soul can imagine, it will be inevitably related to acquired experience of this plane.
Yes.
So how do you accommodate?
Good point. Well, if we can understand clearly that actually all the rasas are service. It's all service to Krishna. Also in Madhurya Rasa is service to Krishna for the satisfaction of Krishna, as is in Vatsalya, Sakya, all of them, and then Dasya itself. So, that's to understand that it's all for the service and satisfaction of Krishna, not for our own enjoyment. That will be keeping us in the safe position. Yeah. So, but this is another subject, of course, about how development of the Swarup, how it develops after Ruchi and Ashakti, then it begins to show itself. But this is a higher stage when the anartas are almost completely cleared. There may be some shadow kind of there, but at a certain point in Ashakti, firm attachment to Krishna, at that point then it starts to show itself. This is described by Narad in the Narad Bhakti Sutras. So Ashakti, then you have Bhava and Prema. So then it's like showing itself, then a bud stage, and then flower stage and fruit stage. Those stages. So yes, we're keeping ourselves, and the example of what you're saying is there, Raghunath Das Goswami, when Rupa Goswami was thinking of Raghunath as his very close friend, and translating into the Krishna Lila, Rupa Manjari and Rati Manjari. That's Rupa Goswami and Raghunath Das Goswami. So they're very, very close, like sisters. Kinkari. Kinkari means kinkar is male, or kinkari is female. Means so close that what one of them is feeling, the other is simultaneously feeling that such type of closeness. But when Rupa Goswami was treating like that with Raghunath, he didn't like it so much. He said, no, I'm a servant, I'm your servant. So like that. Even in that stage, he's not feeling himself. Yeah, so... Yeah.
And they say that prior to those stages, there's a stage of nishta, when the person is uninterrupted and undistracted from service. But then the question is: this that they say anartha in Hebrew? Is that anarthas keep distracting a person from having constantly focused on and like uninterrupted absorption in that? Is it anarthas which distract?
Yeah, naturally, there are obstacles. Because anartha literally means artha, as in dharma, artha, kam, moksha. You've heard of that? Mm-hmm. The four ends of human life. And of course Mahaprabhu said prema pumata mahan, the fifth end, which is prema, which is beyond even moksha. So there, dharma is religion, and artha, artha literally means necessity. So what is a necessity in human life is that your needs will be met. Then you have you do religion or religiosity and piety, and to this way the demigods provide all the necessities, the artha, and when you have that, then you have karma, you have your sense satisfaction, and when you become exhausted with that, then you want to go for moksha, liberation. And then beyond that is prema. So artha means necessity. So anartha means what is not necessary. So what is not necessary for Krishna consciousness, everything that's not necessary for that is anartha. So yes, of course, they're like clouds covering the sun. So they have to be cleared, and the sun will be there showing itself. It's already there, potentially.
Are they cleared by personal endeavor, or is something the sense and health?
This is a big question which has gone into very, very great depth by Jiva Goswami in his Jiva Sandarbha and Bhakti Sandarbha writings about is the eternal relationship with Krishna already existing in every Jivatma, and then simply has to be uncovered by purification through the process of devotional service, or is it just a potential field there, and then that will develop in a certain way according to different influences. Of course, the desire of the jiva soul in a certain direction, and influences and blessing of Guru, Bhagavat Kripa, Krishna Kripa, etc. So we can't go into that too much. It's quite esoteric. It's one of those questions like the origin of the jiva, one of those type of mysterious things,
One of the understandable tattvas.
The non-understandable tattvas, yeah.
Like
Achinta tattva, yeah. But anyway, so we were saying that, yes, it's not that one should desire to become, he says here, like Yashoda, as I said, but some people think, the Mayavadi people think they can actually become Yashoda, Nanda Maharaj, Sridham, Subal, etc. No, that's not. But you're supposed to follow in the footsteps. At that stage, when one's particular inclination to serve Krishna in a certain way, then one selects a eternal associate of Krishna in that particular rasa and follows in their footsteps. It means receives training under them for that service. Either in parental affection or conjugal love, friendship or servitorship, in any way, we must follow in the footsteps of the inhabitants of Vrindavan, not try to become like them. Therefore, this description is provided here. Advanced devotees must cherish this description, always thinking of Mother Yashoda's features, how she was dressed, how she was working and perspiring, how beautifully the flowers were arranged in her hair, and so on. One should take advantage of the full description provided here by thinking of Mother Yashoda in maternal affection for Krishna. Text 4. Tam stanna kama ashadya mathanting jananing hari grihitva doidhi mathanam nashedhat priting avahan. This is here, dodhi is milk. They say dood, don't they, in Bengali. It's coming from this Sanskrit, dodhi. While Mother Yashoda was churning butter, Lord Krishna, desiring to drink the milk of her breast, appeared before her, and in order to increase her transcendental pleasure, he caught hold of the churning rod and began to prevent her from churning. Purport: Krishna was sleeping within the room, and as soon as he got up, he became hungry and went to his mother. Wanting to stop her from churning and drink the milk of her breasts, he stopped her from moving the churning rod. Just see how in the spiritual plane everything is completely automatic, spontaneous, natural and affectionate. No question of like rules and regulations and so forth. And of course this is about Krishna, but in the case of the eternal associates of Krishna also, in the Brahma Samhita it describes that their spiritual bodies are able to act in a different way. This is inconceivable to us at present, wherein incarcerated in this material vehicle, we know that although our soul, our Atma, has connection with Paramatma and therefore with the infinite world, multi-dimensional world, in the material embodiment, our senses are only able to act separately. So we can see with the eyes, hear with the ears, and But in the spiritual world, just as Krishna Angani Yasya Sakalendriya Britti Manti, all his senses can act as all the other senses, so they're not limited like that. If you put it into words, as Srila Prabhupada would say, Krishna can see with his ears, hear with his eyes. I mean, it sounds very funny, and to us it sounds something very awkward or something extraordinarily. But it's not exactly like that. But we have the limitation, of course, of human language. But so the spiritual body is different. It's not limited in the same way as here. And it must be so there, in that way, for the service of Krishna. So text 5, Tammakang garutang apayad stanam snehushnutang sashmitang ikshati mukam atriptang uttrijya javena sajajav utischamani payasi twadishrite. Mother Yashoda then embraced Krishna, allowed him to sit down on her lap, and began to look upon the face of the Lord with great love and affection. Because of her intense affection, milk was flowing from her breast. But when she saw that the milk pan on the oven was boiling over, she immediately left her son to take care of the overflowing milk, although the child was not yet fully satisfied with drinking the milk of his mother's breast. Purport: everything in the household affairs of Mother Yashoda was meant for Krishna. Although Krishna was drinking the breast milk of Mother Yashoda, when she saw that the milk pan in the kitchen was overflowing, she had to take care of it immediately, and thus she left her son, who then became very angry, not having been fully satisfied with drinking the milk of her breast. Sometimes one must take care of more than one item of important business for the same purpose. Therefore, Mother Yashoda was not unjust when she left her son to take care of the overflowing milk. On the platform of love and affection, it is the duty of the devotee to do one thing first and other things later. The proper intuition by which to do this is given by Krishna. So in other words, particularly an advanced devotee might sometimes become bewildered with how will I serve Krishna? There's so many things I can do. Or what is Krishna's demand or Krishna's need for satisfaction in different ways? So what will I do? But the intelligence for this is given by Krishna. Dadami buddhi yogam tam jena mam upayanti te, as Krishna says in Sri Gita 10:8. I give the intelligence how they can come to me when they serve me with love and devotion. And Srila Guru Maharaj said on this point that she had put Krishna down to go and tend to the milk. So you might think, well, if she was, breastfeeding Krishna, that should be the most direct and intimate service, more direct than, boiling milk on the stove, right? So how would she put Krishna down for that? But you see that again, this is very natural, very spontaneous, as anyone would do in a household situation, But it's not just that. There's some idea that in the transcendental plane, that one, again, with one's spiritual mind and intelligence, which isn't limited by material proclivities, one will understand for the best service of Krishna how things will be. So this means to say, yes, that is apparently more direct, the breastfeeding of Krishna, than the milk. But Mother Yashoda, she wants that the milk will be cooked properly so she can make the sweets, and then this will be facilitating the future service of Krishna, right, for the next few days or week or something. Or maybe I'm sure she's making the milk sweets every day. But in other words, apparently leaving the immediate service for some more indirect service, but ultimately that is for the service of Krishna in a very good way. Do you follow the point? Yes? It's a little bit subtle, but in the past times, Krishna didn't like that idea at all. He was angry, of course, and and it can be a play as well, that Krishna may be inspiring the devotee in their heart to do something, and then Krishna apparently showing dissatisfaction. He didn't want that thing after all, he wanted that thing. So, it's like reciprocating with the devotee different ways.
I also think that if the puja is on his own, doing puja, there's no one in the building, and the doorbell rings, what will the puja do?
Yes, well, in that case, we understand that, of course, the honouring of the devotee would even, by the Lord's will and wish, would come before the actual service of the deity, Lord in the deity form himself. So, but then in that sense, also there's to be considered some idea about, like, who is that devotee who's coming to the door? If it's an honorific or devotee, they should be, I mean, if it's a postman or some chap delivering Amazon, maybe that's not so important. You could leave.
Delivering some
You could leave it, or
ingredients for the Lord's Seva.
You would know unless you open the door and see.
so the solution is you have a CCTV and you can see who's there, and then you can decide. No,
Yes.
but
Have a little tablet there.
or a little microphone say, "Yes, please leave it by the door. We'll collect it later," or something like that. Or if it's, if it's a honorific senior type devotee, then you have to, with apology to the Lord, and then go and think. But I mean, this is kind of a rare case because, but it can happen.
Doesn't happen very often.
Actually,
It does.
Yeah.
What did you do?
sometimes we are just
Really?
What did you do?
run to open the door.
Once I opened
Oh, you should have a buzzer.
One moment.
You should have a buzzer here. Open the door.
Yeah, but if it's a new person, then you have to like, oh yes, okay, please have a look.
That's another thing, isn't it?
To show around.
Yeah. One thing, I came to the temple and nobody there, it's just empty. I was ringing the bell. Yeah, there's many considerations, but just the principle is like that our service is in the mood of anurag, rag and anurag, with affection, having the greater part than the rules and regulations. It's not we don't follow the rules and regulations, we do follow them. But if it's a case of that it's coming into clash, we take the higher part. As Guru Maharaj gave the example, if the crown is falling from the head of the deity, the rules and regulations say you can't stand on the altar with your foot, that's offence, right? But to save that very kind of precarious and immediate situation, even you may have to stand up on the altar to like this. So, and there's no offence there.
In Chaitanya Charitamrita, there was a pastime when Mahaprabhu's associate has to stand over him.
Yeah, Govinda.
But when Mahaprabhu fell asleep and then he couldn't go and take prasada,
Yeah.
because he would have to step over Mahaprabhu.
So what he did?
He just sit and wait until Mahaprabhu
Oh, he waited, yeah.
wakes up. And then when Mahaprabhu woke up and he asked, why didn't you go and take prasada? Everyone knows too.
Yeah.
He says, I couldn't step over you because
And Mahaprabhu said,
but I could do that,
Yeah.
for service. So he stepped over him to do
The-
service,
the-
that was fine.
and
To step over and go and take prasada, he didn't.
for himself, yeah. Correct, yeah. Service.
I don't remember the name. It
Pardon?
was Govinda.
Govinda was his servant, yeah. So Krishna, he took hold of the churning stick to stop her. Then Yashoda took him on her lap, feeding him. Then she went to turn down the milk on the stove, right? So then, what happened? Text 6. Sanjata kopa spurita uruna dharam shandosha dojbihir dohi mant bhajanam pitva mrish shashur dishad ashmana raho chaghasa hyangamam antarangata. Being very angry and biting his reddish lips with his teeth, Krishna, with false tears in his eyes, broke the container of yogurt with a piece of stone. Then he entered a room and began to eat the freshly churned butter in a solitary place. Uttare gopi shushritang payadapuna pravishya sandasha cha dod amatrakam bhagnang bilokya shashutasya karmataj jahasatang chapi natatra pashyati. Mother Yashoda, after taking down the hot milk from the oven, returned to the churning spot, and when she saw that the container of yogurt was broken and that Krishna wasn't present, she concluded that the breaking of the pot was the work of Krishna. as you do, as you would. Ulukala greher operi vyavashtitam morkaya kamang dhadatang shichistitam hayangamam chauja vishankitekshanam niriksha paschat shutang agamach chanai. Chaurya, this word in here, means thief. Krishna at that time was sitting on an upside down wooden mortar for grinding spices and was distributing milk preparations such as yogurt and butter to the monkeys as he liked. Because of having stolen, he was looking all around with great anxiety, suspecting that he might be chastised by his mother. Mother Yashoda, upon seeing him, very cautiously approached him from behind. I suppose the wooden mortar was upside down so he could sit on it, because when they're not using it, they turn it down, right, to keep it clean, sort of thing. Yeah. And so she was sneaking up on him from behind. So, purport, Mother Yashoda was able to trace Krishna. How do you think she knew where Krishna had gone? The clue is that he had broken the yogurt pot, right? So there'd be yogurt spread on the floor. So, how do you think she was able? It was a footprints of yogurt going in the other room. So Krishna was very anxiously looking around while he was eating the butter and distributing it. Thangata justing prashamiksha shatvaras tato varudya pasashara bhitavat gop anvadavan najang apajoginam shamang pravishtum tapasharitang mana. When Lord Krishna saw his mother, stick in hand, he very quickly got down from the top of the mortar and began to flee as if very much afraid. Although yogis tried to capture him as Paramatma by meditation, desiring to enter into the effulgence of the Lord with great austerities and penances, they failed to reach him. But Mother Yashoda, thinking that same personality of Godhead, Krishna, to be her son, began following Krishna to catch him. So she's actually following Krishna. Where the yogis are trying to follow Krishna or catch Krishna in the heart. Purport. Yogis, mystics, they want to catch Krishna as Paramatma, and with great austerities and penances they try to approach him, yet they cannot. Here we see, however, that Krishna is going to be caught by Yashoda and is running away in fear. This illustrates the difference between the bhakta and the yogi. Yogis cannot reach Krishna, but for pure devotees like Mother Yashoda, Krishna is already caught. Krishna was even afraid of Mother Yashoda's stick. This was mentioned by Queen Kunti in her prayers, Bhaya Bhavanaya Shtitasya, in Bhagavatam 1.8.31. Krishna is afraid of Mother Yashoda, and yogis are afraid of Krishna. Yogis try to reach Krishna by Jnana Yoga and other yogas, but they fail. Yet although Mother Yashoda was a woman, Krishna was afraid of her, as clearly described in this verse. So fear personified is afraid of Krishna, but Krishna is only afraid of one person, that's Mother Yashoda. Text 10. Anvanchamana janani brihach chalach truni bhara krantagati sumadhyama javena vishramita kesha bandhana chutta prasuna nugati param rishat. While following Krishna, Mother Yashoda, her thin waist overburdened by her heavy breasts, naturally had to reduce her speed. Because of following Krishna very swiftly, her hair became loose, and the flowers in her hair were falling after her, Yet she didn't fail to capture her son, Krishna. Purport: Yogis cannot capture Krishna by severe penances and austerities, but Mother Yashoda, despite all obstacles, was finally able to catch Krishna without difficulty. This is the difference between a yogi and a bhakta. Yogis cannot enter even the effulgence of Krishna. Yasya prabha prabhavato jagadanda koti kotishu. Brahma Samhita 540. Yeah, that means by intense endeavour. Koti kotishu means of many, many thousands of endeavours, they can't enter the prabha. Prabha means the light, the effulgence of Krishna. And that's the effulgence, coming from Krishna, the toes of Krishna's lotus feet. In that effulgence there are millions of universes, but yogis and jnanis cannot enter that effulgence even after many, many years of austerities, whereas bhaktas can capture Krishna simply by love and affection. This is the example shown here by Mother Yashoda. Krishna therefore confirms that if one wants to capture him, one must undertake devotional service. And in Bhagavad Gita, chapter 1855, Bhaktya mam abhijanati javan jaschasmi tattvata tato mang tattvato gyatva vishite tad anantaram. Bhaktas even enter the planet of Krishna very easily, but the less intelligent yogis and jnanis by their meditation remain running after Krishna. Even if they enter Krishna's effulgence, they fall down. So the verse in the Srimad Bhagavatam says, after this intense endeavour, even if they manage to get the liberation, moksha, because they fall down, because their intelligence means their inner soul, spiritual intelligence, isn't purified properly. Avishuddha buddhaya. So they fall down again to the, it's like they go very, very high up in the sky, but because they don't have the actual shelter, they don't come within the, we might call it the electromagnetic gravitational pull of the attraction of the lotus feet of Krishna. So it's like by their own endeavour, they've gone very high level. It's like being on the wire, high wire, up in the sky. Everyone looks, wow, that's amazing, So balancing act, they can walk across between the two towers, and a thing like that. But it's so precarious, Definitely they will fall unless they go up in the service of Krishna, have that connection. They have to fall down again, because you can't. Because the nature of the soul has to be. The soul is dependent as an entity, is contingent being, because we're part and parcel of Krishna, right? So we're naturally the energy, the Shakti of Krishna. So we have to be, to prosper, we have to be within that gravitational pull, just like we have to be within the light and heat, the zone of the sun. And if we go outside that, then even if we apparently manage to achieve some certain things, our light of our soul, the energy of our soul will become like the spark. When it goes away from the fire, it will just become dull and damp. And it will just fall down on the earth and not prosper. So, difference.
These two types of categories can be compared. Like there was this example of Mother Yashoda being able to capture Krishna because of the devotion, and then there is given an example of yogis, or just the regular jivasanas who are by the endeavors of their endeavors trying to reach something. It's completely like the bottom of the existence and the highest peak thing. So, how can those two categories?
Well, they are connected because it is Advaya Gyan, the absolute truth, has those aspects. Bhagavan, Paramatma, Brahma. So Paramatma, realization, or
which yogis aspire for.
Yeah, that's also God realization, as is Brahma realization of the Jnanis, and the realization of devotees in relationship, direct personal relationship with Krishna also. So all is God realization, but it's different. As they give the example of, you might be in the sunshine, and enjoying, some warmth and light in the sunshine. But if you're in a personal relationship with the sun God, that's more than that, much more than that. So they say sunshine is like Brahma, sun planet is like Paramatma, and sun God is like Bhagavan realization. So Tattvam Jnanam Advayam, all is God realization, levels different. But the thing is, because of the nature of relativity, and somebody who is in Brahma realization will think, naturally, their experience will be, this is ultimate, nothing more than this. And someone in Paramatma realization will similarly think, this is ultimate, nothing more than this. So, if you're so fortunate to have, as it's described in the third canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, in the teachings of Kapila Muni, about the yogi bhaktas, and they therefore see the form of the Lord in the lotus of the heart, and describing, from his lotus feet and all the features of his body, his calves, his thighs, his waist, his chest, his beautiful shining face, all described. So in that experience, I think this is ultimate. There can't be anything more than this. And they're content to just dwell in that experience and appreciate the Lord. And that is also touching on devotion, Sharanagati, but it's on the border. It's Shanta Rasa. So it's a question whether Shanta Rasa should be included as a devotional rasa. And sometimes even in the writings and teachings of the Goswamis, sometimes it's included and sometimes it isn't. But Rupa Goswami, he says that it can be included in devotion because it's favourable to devotion, not unfavourable. It's anukulena, right? Because the definition of devotional service, it must be favourable to Krishna, right? Whereas the relation of Kamsa and the demons, that's not considered devotional service because it's unfavourable. Although they're totally thinking of Krishna, like intensely, like obsessively almost, but in fear or in some negative type of way. But it's not considered in devotion because it's not favourable. So, whereas Shantaras is favourable and is there, like in the case of Prahlad, we see there's full confidence in the Lord's protection, which is part of Sharanagati, right? He's Goptritre Varanam, he's accepting the Lord, the Shingadev, as his Lord and Master totally, so he's embracing the guardianship of the Lord, and then naturally from that there's full confidence in the Lord's protection. But it's not considered active seva, as in Dasya Rasa, which the icon example of that is Hanuman, of course. As you know, so in Shanta Rasa, for example, because it's somewhat of a yogic position, for example, in Jaiva Dharma, Bhaktivinoda Thakur says, a Shanta Rasa devotee, bhakta, like if someone will make offence to a Vaishnav, a bhakta, Vaishnav or Guru, or like that, he won't interfere with that, right? But we are supposed to not tolerate that, right? We try to stop that bad thing, or if we can't, we have to go away or something. But Shanta Rasa, never mind, this is foolish people. Let them. God will judge. God will see what is happening. But if you have more attachment for the Lord in service, you can't stand idle, You can't stand idle in such a situation. And, that was the example in, wasn't it, in Vrindavan with Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur, when that Yogi Babaji criticised Raghunath Goswami. He said, he wasn't Yogi Babaji, he was a caste Goswami, a Jati Gosai, as they're called. So their lineage, the blood lineage of gurus, like even I mean, I'm saying on the material side is also like Srila Govinda Maharaj. His family was a guru family, and also Tirtha Maharaj in Calcutta. Tirtha Maharaj. Yeah. Anyway, so he said, "Oh, we can give blessings to Raghunath because he's from Kayashta caste, lower caste, merchant caste." And Bhaktivedanta began fasting, to hear that. And then naturally all the group, the devotees with him, began fasting, And somebody came to Bhaktisiddhanta and said, why you take such an extreme, reaction to this? He's just a foolish person. If he doesn't know, he doesn't understand, he made some ignorant remark, just ignore it. And he said, if I was like a Babaji, living alone, practicing my own, life, I could do so. But as I'm playing the role of an acharya with a mission and many followers and people are sort of like dependent on me and so many things, and driving in a motor car in Vrindavan and doing all these unknown things, innovative things, he did. He said, therefore, I have to stand for the dignity of the Sampradaya, and I can't let it go uncontested. So eventually, after some time, somebody went and told that person that this was happening, he was fasting, and it was a serious situation. And he came and apologized, and it was okay, That's an example. Got 5 minutes. I'll read one more then. And, okay, so she captured him. And text 11. Kritaga sangtang parudantang akshini kashantang anjang mashini swapanina udvikshamanang bhaya vivalekshanam haste grihitva bishayant avagurat. When caught by Mother Yashoda, Krishna became more and more afraid and admitted to being an offender. As she looked upon him, she saw that he was crying, his tears mixing with the black ointment around his eyes. And as he rubbed his eyes with his hands, he smeared the ointment all over his face. Mother Yashoda, catching her beautiful son by the hand, mildly began to chastise him. So imagine Krishna like he's going like that, crying and rubbing, it's going all over his face. It's very cute, very heart-rending. Purport: from these dealings between Mother Yashoda and Krishna, we can understand the exalted position of a pure devotee in loving service to the Lord. Yogis, Jnanis, Karmis and Vedantists cannot even approach Krishna. They must remain very far away from him and try to enter his bodily effulgence, although this also they are unable to do. Great demigods like Lord Brahma and Lord Shiva always worship the Lord by meditation and by service. Even the most powerful Yamaraj fears Krishna. Therefore, as we find in the history of Ajamil, Yamaraj instructed his followers not even to approach the devotees, what to speak of capturing them. In other words, Yamaraj also fears Krishna and Krishna's devotees. Yet this Krishna became so dependent on Mother Yashoda that when she simply showed Krishna the stick in her hand, Krishna admitted to being an offender and began to cry like an ordinary child. Mother Yashoda, of course, did not want to chastise her beloved child very much, and therefore she immediately threw her stick away and simply rebuked Krishna, saying, "Now I shall bind you so that you cannot commit any further offensive activities, nor for the time being can you play with your playmates." This shows the position of a pure devotee, in contrast with others, like Jnanis and the followers of Vedic ritualistic ceremonies, in regarding the transcendental nature of the absolute truth. Jai. Sri Kartik ki Jai. Yes, please.
Me. Hari Rama Krishna Jadavaya
Hari Harai Nama Krishna Jatavaya Namaha Yatavaya Keshavaya Namaha Gopal Govinda Ram Sudana Giridhari Gopinatha Madana Sri Chaitanya Nityananda Shri Advaita Radha Shiva Sankirtan ki jai. Gaur Premanandi Hari Bol.
Shri Guru Gauranga Sundaram Ki
Jai. Gurudev ki jai. Jai.
Shri Chaitanya Saraswati Yamin Basra Bhakti Sundar Govinda Deva Goswami Maharaj ki
Jai. 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 Jai.
Srimad Bhagavatam Swarup Tridandi Maharaj ki Harinama Sankirtan ki
Jai.